Okay. Let's talk about Nikon's reality here, okay? Let's talk about the two realities. Mirrorless, right? Nikon obviously has a crap load of glass. Let's talk about the two realities. And Nikon, even though I got Nikon tattooed on my hand, and Nikon is working feverishly on a mirrorless full-frame camera. However, Nikon's, as a corporate entity, has always had its head up its butt, exactly like IBM. Here's two realities, and we're first going to look at it from Nikon's perspective, which is reality, and then we're going to look at it from ultimate reality. And here's the point. This is actually the video someone should have made on YouTube about the reality of Nikon versus mirrorless and all this other crap, but no one has made yet until now. Here's the reality. Now recently there was an article on Petapixel somebody wrote, so some huge photo contest, hundreds and hundreds of entries, maybe thousands of entries, and it was, of all the people, all the cameras, it was 80% DSLR usage. In other words, there's only 20% mirrorless and Leica. It was over 80, it was like 82%, whatever it was, and of that 82%, 51% was Nikon. Nikon! And Nikon sees this stuff and they're sitting back in their chair with a fat cigar. Nikon knows this, okay? That's a fact. Those are the hardcore objective facts of that huge photo contest. And they're showing all the graphs. You know, so many people use the Nikon D5 and Nikon D810. It's like, oh my God, 80 plus percent DSLR users, and of that 51% Nikon. Nikon's like, ah, yeah, baby, we got it right there. That's a reality, and that's Nikon's reality with their horse blinders on. And that's a fact. That's an objective fact. Here's the other objective fact. Nikon is going along like a plane. You ever shot one of those like balsa airplanes, whatever, slingshot? They used to make them. You'd fire them, they go a really long way. It's probably too old for you. Nikon is soaring along like a plane at 30,000 feet up in the sky, like a 747 Boeing. And they're looking down at all the mirrorless peons below, and Canon, by the way, definitely. They're definitely looking down on Canon for good reason. Canon, crap dynamic range. Excuse me. Excuse me there. But the plane is running out of gas. Not only is objective fact due to iPhones now being 12 megapixel, we got dual lenses on our cameras because everybody whips out their iPhone. 12 megapixels was enough for Nikon D3. Of course, it's got really crap dynamic range, a tiny-ass little worthless sensor, but it's always in your damn pocket. So obviously all cameras together are a huge shrinking market. Everybody knows this fact. This is one of the reasons why Nikon's 747 jet, while soaring at 30,000 feet, they're up there in the stratosphere above everybody else, and they know this, and that's why they're so confident the planes run out of gas. That's only one reason. So you got the shrinking market, and people are moving to mirrorless in huge numbers. Mirrorless blackout time is basically turned to zero. You have wonderful things like peaking. I mean, mirrorless is best for video. Nikon did patent a hybrid pentaprism system that would let you use your camera like a mirrorless, where it actually would have a built-in EVF. They haven't brought out that camera. Since they patented it, I assume that they will. That's probably their intuitive hedge against mirrorless dominance in a shrinking camera market, which it is shrinking. But they're up there in their snobbery, and everybody that I know that deals with Nikon, and these are people that I know that have been dealing with Nikon for decades and decades, I'll tell you this, Nikon is a snobby, stuck-up company. I love Nikon. I got tons of Nikon stuff. I've made a lot of money for Nikon. There's people at Nikon, and they've told me they have a media department at Nikon. I know, they've told me. It's like, you made a lot of money for us with that Nikon D500 review. You said it was the best thing since sliced bread. It's a legendary camera. Man, we sold a lot of cameras because, yeah. But, you know, that's all true, but you can't rest on your laurels like that. Nikon is soaring in a jet at 30,000, but they don't realize that they've run out of gas. Well, sure they have. They realize this, and that's why they're working feverishly on a mirrorless camera. The only problem is that Nikon doesn't play nice with people. Nikon actually works exactly like... Lexar was part of IBM, which I used to work for, by the way. And when I worked at Lexmark, everybody there was an IBM corporate douche. You know, the starchy shirt and the pushed up ties and everything. And they refused to take in any outside help. This is why Nikon's SnapBridge software totally sucks butt. The reason it sucks butt is because Nikon is so assured of their superiority, because they are soaring at 30,000 feet in their 747, that they don't think they need outside help. We're going to fix that. We got people where, no, bring in some outside people to fix it. Because Nikon, you just don't have the expertise for the software, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth development of that application. Fujifilm developed it years ago. Why the hell you, as a billion-dollar company, you can't fix that crap? How long has SnapBridge been out? That same sort of mentality is still, guarantee you, not my speculation, still at the heart and core of the people that are developing the full-frame Nikon mirrorless system. As far as bringing outside advice and people that can work collectively to agree that we're building an awesome camera here. Nikon thought that when they were building the Nikon DF. That camera went over like a lead balloon. Just an abysmal design. It has the Nikon D4 sensor in it. It has the horrible Nikon D610 autofocus. Okay, so it's not fast. The ergonomics of it, the weight of it, the design of it is just absolutely abysmally horrible. The one thing that I fear for Nikon, and I don't want Nikon to go out of business, for God's sakes, but the fact is right now the small company of Fujifilm, and Fujifilm themselves will tell you, as one person at Fujifilm has told me, Fujifilm's not that big of a company. Their camera division, that is, anyway. And it's not. But Fujifilm has a broader spectrum of top-end cameras than does Nikon. What does Nikon have right now? They got the Nikon at the top. I don't mean all that cheap crap that everybody else buys, the dinky cameras. Up at the top, they got the Nikon D850, the D500, the D5, and what else? That's it. That's 3 cameras. The spectrum of coverage for photography use up there is not that much. What does Fujifilm have? They have the GFX, they have the XH1, the XT2, soon to be the XT3. They've soon got a cheap medium format coming out in the form of a digital rangefinder. They have the street camera, the X100F. Fujifilm at the top, not meaning all the cheap cameras that Nikon has, and Fujifilm, has a broader spectrum of exposure for photography fulfillment than does Nikon. I'm actually afraid, and I've made this prediction before, and I'm going to stick to it, that when Nikon comes out, of course the first generation of anything is never that great, right? The XT1 had quite a few flaws, even though it was really an awesome camera. I don't think Nikon's first full-frame camera is going to be, it's going to have issues, because Nikon is so, they're just like I was about to say something really profane. I was thinking back to a South Park episode where people sniffed their own gases. That's kind of how Nikon corporate works, and I'm afraid those are the same people in the same mindset that's developing their full-frame camera. Nikon is blissfully ignorant at 30,000 feet in their 747 above everybody else, but they don't realize that the plane has run out of damn gas. Look, we're above everybody else. Yeah, but the plane's running out of gas. Yeah, but look, there's Canon below us, and way below that is all the mirrorless stuff, It's still down in the single percentile. We're up at 51% in the last, big cross-section of usage in that photography contest. I forget what it was. 81% or 82% DSLR, 51% of that was Nikon. Well, that makes Nikon really proud. Look at that. Of course, they knew that without that chart, without that graph. They know they're at the top. The hardcore wildlife, the photojournalists, they know they're using Nikon. Sony and Fujifilm know this too. Canon and Fujifilm and Sony don't collectively have their heads up their own butts. They know exactly where the hell Nikon sits. The only problem with Nikon is that they have the same IBM mentality, of the fat cat looking outside of his 100th floor skyscraper, looking at all the peons on the street. Look at those scumbags while I'm way up here. They don't realize that it's they're polishing the brass on the Titanic in an ever-shrinking camera market. Cell phone dominance. Everybody's turned to douche-tography. That's what you should call it, douche-tography. I'm going to whip out my phone, take a shot. You do an HDR shot of my iPhone. This is good enough for most people, you know. Hey, it makes a decent 8x10, right? It does. I mean, people made halfway decent movies on an iPhone. That's not to say the sensor and the dynamic range on those damn phones is worth a crap, because it's not. It's garbage. But it's handy, because it's always in your damn pocket. Nikon's cruising along at 30,000 feet in an airplane that's run out of gas. The only problem is they're not acknowledging that fact. That really is about the most accurate summation of where Nikon is. I know that's what their mentality is. Nikon just reported huge losses on their measuring division of how many millions of dollars? There's another huge loss last quarter from Nikon. They came out with those disgusting, abysmal pieces of filth to compete with GoPro. I mean, GoPro is nearly bankrupt, and they make the best device. And you're trying to compete against a company that's about to go bankrupt? Really smart move, Nikon, you idiots. When they came out with that, I knew immediately, and I told people, I said, Nikon is making a big mistake. They're going to fail so hard on this. They're tripping ass over elbow with their, as the British say, tits up, right? Isn't that what the British say? Phew. I don't want Nikon to perish. More competition, the better. Sure as hell don't want that stupid E-mount, which was, by the way, a DX crop sensor mount in design and implementation. I don't want the only two people out there competing to be Sony. Canon has its head up its butt. Only two people competing, Fujifilm and Sony. Whew. Of course, they don't have the glass yet. And DSLRs aren't going anywhere, by the way. It's not like Nikon is switching over from DSLRs to mirrorless. They're just trying to cover their asses by introducing a pro mirrorless camera. Full frame, by the way. But knowing their mentality, I don't think it's going to be that good. And I'd actually be willing to put money down on the fact that when it comes out, people are going to go, ugh. And by the way, the reason I'm wearing a kilt tonight, because hundreds of people dared me to wear this kilt that some unknown person sent to me, because I made a joke in a video about going to Florida and needing a kilt for the ventilation. So, I'm wearing a kilt. If you like these videos, please click the link below or join a Patreon. And I always take phone support from anybody on Patreon, no matter what they pledge. And it hasn't proven to be problematic yet, because I get phone calls at all sorts of strange hours, especially while I'm asleep. So I try to make arrangements about when to call, but you know, I could help out on anything. I could find the answer to anything if I don't have it, and 9 times out of 10 I do have it, though. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.